Hello, welcome to the Asheville Design District podcast. I'm your host, Chandra Russell, and I am joined today by a very special guest, Tracey Morgan, owner of Tracey Morgan Gallery, and she is also a neighbor right down the street here, 22 London Road. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're brand new to the neighborhood. You just opened your doors in March, and share a little bit about the reception you've had and what's going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah, so we moved from South Slope in January, did some work inside the building, and we opened our doors in beginning of March for our first exhibition. And we've had a great reception from our clients and from the neighbors. We have parking, which is amazing. Coming from the South Slope where we were for 7 years, in a wonderful neighborhood, wonderful space, the parking was an issue, and this has been wonderful. It's accessible for everybody because there's no stairs and there's lots of parking, and yeah, we've really, I think our clients are very happy with our move.
I love it. And you know, you kind of get to bridge these two neighborhoods, Biltmore Village, which is obviously known as a shopping destination, and then here the new Asheville Design District neighborhood that butts right up against Biltmore Village. So you kind of get the best of both worlds because our neighborhood here is all about home, and there's 65 plus businesses related to home and construction and building and all these wonderful things. So we're so glad that you're here.
We're so happy to be here. And, we moved into 22 London, which, if you don't know this building, it's a multi-use space that's owned by Randy Schull and Hetty Fisher. And they're both, kind of art incubators. So we share the space with Mountain Made Jewelry, and other artists use the space for studios. So it's really activated energy kind of always in the building, which is nice. You know, if you're by yourself, there's always something happening or somebody around, which is excellent.
That's amazing.
And since we've opened, we've had so many new faces come through our doors, which we didn't have in the South Slope, which has been great. So a lot of neighbors are coming in to say hi, which is amazing.
Well, and you mentioned, and obviously we both love the South Slope, no hate there at all, but weekends can be a little challenging for locals, and locals tend to stay away a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's special that you're seeing new faces and some locals to this particular neighborhood, or locals from really Asheville in general, because of the convenience and the parking. I think we have to always keep talking about that, because I feel so lucky here. I mean, it's basically endless parking. And we hop right off 40. You know, it's just really this almost back door to Biltmore and a lot of things. And so, I'm excited to hear that you've had a warm reception. So 7 years in the South Slope, that is quite a feat to be there through the change and the growth. And tell us a little bit about that.
When we moved in, there was very little down there. There were some breweries, obviously Burial and Green Man, and our neighbors were Octopus Garden, so we always had somebody next to us. But, it was a huge transition. There was not a lot down there. There was no restaurants to speak of. And over the last 7 years, just watching it change has been kind of amazing. Obviously, it is more, it's part of downtown, so the tourism is high. There's lots of bars and restaurants and breweries. It just changed a little bit. A lot of the art industries kind of left, and we were kind of one of the last strongholds of that, like holding on. But, the rents kept increasing, and construction was just nonstop, which, that whole project across from us was halted. And after 2 years of a lot of torn up roads and dirt and dust and no parking. So anyway, when we decided to move here to this section, to the Design District area, it was just great. It just felt a little freeing, a little less stressful about making overhead, and it just worked out really nicely. So, it was sad to leave a home we've been in for 7 years, but new beginnings are amazing. And just being a part of this area is great. So we didn't feel like we were going to lose anything because we were leaving downtown. We felt like now we're part of a new district that is still very much home centric, as you said, and design and interiors, and we have a lot of great art for walls.
Absolutely.
Empty spaces.
Yeah. So. And you mentioned your landlords and their focus on making it really kind of this art building and art destination, which is so exciting because I think they're also involved in the River Arts District, if I'm not, if I'm not mistaken. So Pink Dog Creative and all that.
Pink Dog Creative.
So having their influence and your influence from these other two neighborhoods, South Slope and River Arts District, you guys know what's worked there and what hasn't per se, or not even that, but what is possible. And we were talking before we started it's exciting to think that as business owners here in this neighborhood, we can have a voice here. We really can help shape it. And people like Heidi and Randy, you're making a conscious decision to say, hey, we're going to do this neighborhood this way, really intentionally. And it's going to be different than the South Slope. It's going to be different than River Arts District, and taking some of those elements. So what would you like to see evolve here, and maybe what businesses would you like to see added to the neighborhood? What vision do you see in the next 3 to 5 years of how this could grow in a sustainable way that makes it unique, that keeps its own character and personality?
Well, there's still so many amazing buildings available when you drive down this, Sweeten Creek in particular, there's just these gorgeous old warehouse buildings that I wish that I could move into one of those. They're amazing. So I think it would be just great to see more artists move here, more arts industries, maybe a theater or something that's art related or visual. So more interior designers, more fabric warehouse, show houses, showrooms. Obviously, more restaurants are always great. Yes. Fun things to do. But I think there's so much potential here that it's not been overdeveloped, and it isn't necessarily a tourist driven area. So I think that the diversity of businesses is kind of open, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. There's limited choices for lunch and dinner and things right now, and we both were talking, we love going to Hillman, we love going to Seven Clans, and Haiku I Do is starting to do some evening activities beyond just being an event venue, which is exciting. So really want to get into as well your first exhibit and share a little bit about the artist and what you guys have coming up.
Great. So our current show is an Asheville artist named Nava Lubowski, and she was a New Yorker for most of her life, and then moved to Asheville about 17 years ago. So before the mass influx. But she's an amazing painter. She takes damaged canvas or fabric and found objects like balls of string or electrical wire, scraps of fabric. And she creates abstract paintings that are small to large scale, but she kind of creates order out of chaos. So stitching holes or stitching around stains, drips of paint. So she's kind of combining this sort of masculine abstract expressionist drip paintings like Jackson Pollock, but making them more feminine by using embroidery, which is traditionally, called women's work or handicraft, but she's taking sort of these everyday objects and elevating them to fine art, which they're beautiful, they're fun, they're chaotic, but also quite orderly with the stitching and the embroidery, which is kind of two opposite things. But she's great. She's up through June 8th, and we're hoping to do an artist talk towards the end of the show. So you can check our website, which is TraceyMorganGallery.com, and we'll have things announced, and also our Instagram, which is at Tracey Morgan Gallery. We post a lot on there. And then our next show, opening June 14th, is Luke Whitlatch, who's a local painter, and Ferris McReynolds, who's a painter that's based in LA. And they were roommates in college and lived in LA and worked together in the same studio. So Luke's work is very abstract, very kind of like mystical stories, or stories you think you know and remember but don't really. And Ferris is a figurative and abstract painter, so the dialogue will be interesting between them both, and they both work large and small scale, so I think it'll be a fun exhibition.
And how long have they worked together?
Well, they knew each other for probably 15 years.
Wow.
And then Luke's been in Asheville for, I think I would say 7 years, maybe a little less. So, he's based here now, and he works for the Asheville Art Museum, and Ferris is still based in LA. So it'll be an interesting dialogue between the two of them.
And the two coasts, there's so many different things, right? Mountains,
mountains, and see a lot of Ferris's work has rivers and oceans, and kind of how people share common space.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah. So what's the process for your choices for who you showcase in your gallery?
Well, our program, we try to have a combination of local and regional and national artists. So, if we have a artist that's based in Chicago, then the next show we'll try to have somebody that's either local or regional. So we try to have a balance because we felt it was important to showcase local and regional artists. I moved from New York City, so when I first got here and I first started working on the gallery, I thought I would just show out-of-state artists and bring new people in. But then I really quickly realized, I think I had my doors open for our first show. I realized that we really should have a local program. So we try to have a good balance of that.
Love it.
So, but I pick this work that I like and that I think I believe in, and I wouldn't show anything that I just was like, oh, this will sell, I'll sell it. If I don't like it, I'm not going to put it on our walls.
Integrity.
Yeah. I hope so. We really tried to have a very strong program, and, it's important to have work that's easy for people to relate to, but also work that is challenging and important and not just decorative, which there's nothing wrong with decorative art, but, we try to have a nice balance of that as well.
Wonderful. Amazing mission. And share a little bit. So we talked about South Slope for 7 years. You're brand new to this neighborhood. Give us a little bit about your background pre-Asheville.
Pre-Asheville. So, I studied art history. I grew up in Florida and went to Florida State University. So I studied art history, and kind of always knew I wanted to work in art galleries for some reason. I just started after college. I worked at various places in Florida and Atlanta, and then decided one day I wanted to live in New York City. So I got a job in New York, and I was there for 12 years, which I loved, and just really got to know the New York art world and made a lot of connections there. And my husband and I decided in 2015 that we wanted to change, and so we chose Asheville, and we moved here knowing we would open businesses. And so I knew I was going to open a gallery. I just had no idea where. And then the space in the South Loop came open, and we just jumped on that and renovated it to our liking. But so background in art history. I've worked in galleries for probably, seems like too long. We were talking earlier about 30 years. I think it's about that. So 30 years, it just doesn't seem possible.
Wow. So you had a dream probably all along to open a gallery, and then you were able to make it happen here.
Yeah, just, studying about some of the big gallerists in New York, like Leo Castelli and Andre Emmerich. I just was always, I think we all have a romantic idea of what gallery work is. It's really not that glamorous. There's a lot of, sanding and spackling and drilling holes in things, cleaning up messes, doing a lot of computer work. So it's not as glamorous as I always thought it was, and a lot of it is boring, but it's my passion. So putting shows together is super fun.
Awesome. Wow, that's amazing. I love that story of, there is some pushback of, people are influxing here and there and all that.
Yeah.
I got here in 2014, so we're about the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And, talking about New York, walking through Chelsea and going to all the galleries. I try to go to New York once a year. It doesn't always happen, but there's something so special about, I'm going to that neighborhood. That's happening.
Yeah.
I want to go there. And thinking about some of those elements of New York, I want to bring some of that here, and I don't know quite how. It's like sidewalks are obvious, right? Like we need walkability.
Nice. Yeah, walkability
because that's one of the
thing.
beautiful things about New York. Transportation ease. I think that could could improve. But is there anything that you sort of miss, either the art world or the neighborhood vibe, or anything that you were like, we could kind of bring a little bit and steal a little bit of that and infuse it here?
Obviously sidewalks, but I think that will come, right? As soon as this develops more, we'll have more of that. But obviously, and I've said this since we opened, that the more galleries there are here, the more vibe we'll have, even if it's, small artist-run spaces. I think that the more competition we have, the more we'll be known again for the arts and not just beer and food, which there's nothing wrong with either of those industries. They bring in a lot of tourist dollars, but it would be great to just have more of that. And yeah, like what we said earlier, just furniture stores and fabric showcases and things like that kind of bring it all together, I think would be amazing. And when I opened, I was really worried. I'll backtrack that. When I opened, I had a very sort of New York mindset of, this is great. I've worked in New York for so long. I know all of this stuff. I'm amazing. But, it's moving to a different place. And with an area like Asheville that is so very local minded, it was a great learning curve for me. It made me realize, okay, New York, where for so long I thought it was like the center of the universe, and in some ways it still is. Right. But being here for so long and being open and working with great artists here and clients and collectors, it's been fantastic. And so obviously it's great to have a little bit of New York here, but not too much.
Yeah, right.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I miss the big museums and seeing all these amazing artists that I admire, and be able to walk down the street and find that at any given corner is amazing. And I don't think any place will ever be like that.
Right. And how do we, part of it is, of course, and more difficult things to talk about is like artists affording to live here. Yes. And artists wanting to be here. And I went to a panel last week specifically about the River Arts District, and in this neighborhood, can we have some work-life studios? Can we, think about if there's going to be a business, are there apartments up top for people that actually live here and work here, and not just super fancy condos, right? Yeah. So really thinking about this neighborhood as for locals, and everybody's shopping. And of course, we're right here next to a tourist destination.
Very much so, yeah.
So the bleed of both, like, I love going to the Biltmore still, right? Like,
right, of course.
I love walking around Biltmore Village and hitting Chestnut, or our corner kitchen, same owners. And so there's this beautiful kind of, you were talking about the two artists, and it made me think, and the order and the chaos too. We're kind of the chaos over here, because we're creating, and it's very creative. Yes. And they're more the order, right? You go shopping and da-da-da. Yeah. So I kind of am loving this balance. Last week our guest was from Biltmore Property Group, and talking about, and he's really involved with Biltmore Village, Benjamin Mitchell. And it's just like, hey, we can kind of be siblings, and like they're gonna do a window display competition in the holiday season.
Oh, that's great.
So like we should do it too, of course. Neighborhood versus neighborhood or whatever. So how do we support more artists being able to work and live right here in this neighborhood?
Well, I think that's just a thing Asheville struggles with as a whole, is obviously as a landlord or building owner, you want to make the most to cover your property taxes or your mortgage or whatever you have. So sometimes that's not possible. And I think that all cities our size struggle with it. New York struggled with it. It became too expensive for a lot of artists, and they push out to the outer boroughs and the outer towns. And I think that's kind of what it would be wonderful, obviously, to have live workspaces that artists could have a chunk in. So I don't know what the solution to that is. I think it would be amazing. I would love to see that here, especially in some of these great old loft buildings. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And so wrapping up, what else is on your radar for 2024, 2025? You're so new. What do you have a new vision for this space, particularly from, compared to your South Slope? What you thinking?
Well, hopefully we can, right now the space is sort of ever evolving. We're getting used to it. It is, as I said, it's a multi-use space, so we're not a contained store, or, we have walls, but we also share the space with other people. So just seeing how we can work on the layout different ways and move walls and expand a little bit into the space. Will be fun and challenging. So we have exhibitions through January, and then obviously we'll start or December, and then obviously we'll start in January, a new season. So we're still working that out, but we hope to have more artist talks and events for the neighborhood and for just people to pop in whenever they want. And right now we're only open Wednesday through Saturday, but as soon as season hits a little bit more, we'll be open a few more days. So just, again, check our website, and we'll have more information on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thanks
and I have not popped over yet, but we'll pop over and we'll do a little mini something in your gallery, and do a little tour. And thank you so much for watching the Asheville Design District podcast, and we'll see you next week.